all the settings and things, so it'll just be a minute.
Looks like we're at 5:30. We all good to go, Zach?
We are now good to go.
Okay. All right. I will now call the order of the June 16th meeting of the Salem Historic Landmarks Commission. Will the recorder please take roll call?
Commissioner Kerdeman?
Here.
Commissioner Fuller?
Here.
Commissioner Holton?
Here.
Commissioner Inman?
Here.
Commissioner Ponce? Commissioner Ponce?
You're not, I think I'm.
Oh, I can hear you now. Great. Commissioner Zimmerman?
Here.
Commissioner Cottingham is absent excused. Commissioner McGlinta Timbrook is absent excused, and Commissioner Mulvihill is absent excused. We have quorum.
All right. The commission will now hear testimony from the public concerning items not on the agenda. Is there anyone here wishing to speak at this time?
We did not have any members of the public sign up for testimony. And don't forget to call for a motion for the new agenda item.
Oh, yes, exactly. My apologies there. Can we have an additional item for the agenda tonight? Can I get a motion to approve an item for the Salem Civic Center Historic District nomination?
I'd like to move that we add an action item in support of the Civic Center National Register nomination that we discussed at the last meeting on May 19th.
Thank you, Commissioner Inman. Can we get a second?
A second.
Thank you, Commissioner Kerdeman. All in favor of adding the additional item to the action items, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the addition has been added. Let's see, where are we now? Okay, now it's, excuse me, now public comment. The commission will not hear testimony from public concerning items not on the agenda. And is there anyone here wishing to speak at this time?
I believe everyone who is present is here for a specific agenda item, but if they do have something that is not related to their agenda item, now would be the time to express that.
All right, seeing none, we will now consider approval of the minutes from our May 19th, 2022 meeting. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I have a correction for the minutes. In item 4A, the whoever seconded that motion was left off.
I noticed that after I sent it out, it was Commissioner Zimmerman, and I have
Okay.
updated that in my copy, but not the copy I sent out to
Okay.
you. So thank you for the correction.
Okay.
I think we still need a motion.
Yeah, we'll still need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move approval as corrected.
Thank you, Commissioner Inman. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Holton. Now, all in favor of the minutes that have been corrected, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are corrected. Let's see. And so now, since we don't have any public hearings, we have some action items on the agenda. For the first item, the Oregon State Capitol CAMS 3 mitigation plan. Let's start with the staff presentation. Kimberly?
Yeah, thank you. Give me 1 second. Kimberly Fitzgerald, Historic Preservation Officer for the City of Salem. The commission has seen these kinds of things before. The Oregon Legislative Administration, OLA, is proposing to complete the final phase of work on the Capital Accessibility, Maintenance, and Safety Project, also known as CAMS, at the Oregon State Capitol. If you recall, Oregon Revised Statute ORS 358653 requires that OLA consult with the Oregon State Historic Preservation Office to consider the effects of this undertaking on historic properties. And one of the questions that they are asking, and we are asking, is whether the undertaking will have an adverse effect. And if so, then mitigation is required. And Salem is a certified local government and therefore a stakeholder who can provide comment. Just to clarify, as I've clarified before, in this particular situation, the Landmarks Commission is not a regulatory authority. We are a stakeholder, so we don't have you don't have the authority to make a decision on this, just provide comment. Some initial back and forth consultation has been going on since the beginning of this project, which I'll give you a bit of history about here in a second. But the SHPO concurred that the Capitol is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and further concludes that while a majority of the work will result in a no adverse effect to the character defining features of the interior and the exterior of the Capitol, there are a small number of necessary alterations that will result in an adverse effect and therefore requiring mitigation. In the information that you were sent along with your packets, you did get a detailed report from ARG, and I believe they're here this evening if you have questions about that regarding the specifics regarding what is an adverse effect and what isn't. That's in the appendix. And let me now, I love this little postcard. I came across it a little bit. You all know about the Capitol, but a little bit about the significance. So the state Capitol was listed on the National Register in 1988. The Capitol was constructed between 1936 and 1938. An expansion of the Capitol occurred in the late 1970s, 1975 through 1977, consisting of additions, 4-story legislative office wings connected to the original building by rectangular corridor connections. To accommodate these additions, alterations on the ground and first floor elevations were required. However, very little significant fabric or interior spaces were altered in the original portion of the building. A parking structure, which also contained storage, maintenance, and mechanical rooms, was also added at this time under the new additions, and 2 interior courtyard gardens were also created when these additions were constructed, and those aren't visible from the exterior. Here's a little excerpt of the table that I referenced earlier. A little bit about the history of how we got here. The Oregon legislature authorized numerous phases of work on the Capitol beginning in 2014, and it originally had a different acronym. Jody has all the great acronyms. The Oregon State Capitol Renovation OSCAR project was completed in that early first phase, and it transitioned into the initial phase of the CAMS project, and phase 1 was approved by the legislature in 2016 to address American with Disabilities Act deficiencies, at-risk mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems, and security and life safety issues in the Capitol. The project has been completed in 3 phases, with funding for phase 2 approved by the 2020 legislature, and that was an extension of the work completed during phase 1. This phase addressed needed improvements to the seismic structure of the 1977 portions of the building, as well as ADA accessibility at the building's south entrance or the north. You'll have to clarify for me. Life safety issues and restoration of some historical elements. I believe it was the north entrance. Phase 3 of CAMS project was approved by the 2022 legislature and is an extension of the first 2 phases of the CAMS project. And Phase 3 of this project will concentrate on the 1938 portion of the Capitol and is anticipated to be completed by the end of 2025. And this part I think is going to be pretty amazing to see. They're going to be working on the base isolation of the main portion of the Capitol building. They'll be digging down under the Capitol about 15 feet. And then they'll be installing micropiles metal beams to support the Capitol, and it will essentially be put on stilts for 2 years while work is being completed on the base isolation. So the specifics about the mitigation. So in our code, as you recall, Salem Revised Code 230.0882, Table 230-5 outlines the appropriate level of mitigation that public agencies should offer based upon the activity proposed. And in this particular case, the proposed undertaking includes alterations which are visible, and therefore, according to our interpretation, it's a level 2 adverse effect, and therefore includes building documentation, on-site interpretation, and educational materials. And the applicant has proposed all of these things, as well as conservation of character defining features. And as I mentioned earlier, the HLC is not a regulatory authority in this situation, but so you don't have to do anything. You don't have to take any action at all. However, if you find that the applicant has made the case for adequate mitigation, you can authorize staff to draft a letter in support that will be sent to OLA and the SHPO. Alternatively, if you find that the applicant has not made the case, but would like to recommend that additional language or additional mitigation stipulations be added, you can certainly direct staff to draft a letter stating that, or you can direct staff to write a letter in opposition. I'm going to stop sharing now. This concludes the staff report. And again, I believe there are representatives. Jody Jones is here along with some representatives from her team.
Thank you, Kimberly. Does anyone on the commission have any questions for staff? Doesn't look like it at this point. Does the representative want to comment or speak to the commission this evening?
I would like to, please.
If you could state your name and address, please.
Sure. For the record, my name is Jody Jones. I'm the CAMS project director. Do you need my home address, or I sort of live here at the Capitol?
Business address is fine.
900 State Street or Court Street, excuse me, 900 Court Street. So first of all, thank you, Kimberly, for your overview of the project, and thank you to the commission for allowing me to talk a little bit about this project. I just wanted to take a few minutes to highlight the importance of what we're doing here at the Capitol and address some of the key components that we will be hopefully taking care of for you as Oregon citizens. The initial driver of this project started back in the early 2000s and maybe even before that, when they were looking to improve the safety of the building for the occupants and the visitors, as well as the preservation of the building in case of a seismic event. Once the scope of the work to accomplish a seismic upgrade was looked at, they thought, well, now's the perfect time. Why don't we go ahead and take care of some of the other deficiencies in the building, such as fire life safety deficiencies and the fact that we don't have nearly enough ADA access points into the building. So they began going down there and adding those components. As the time extended to getting this launched, they also found that they had a lot of MEP, or mechanical, electrical, and plumbing repairs and upgrades that needed to be done to the building. So now they start adding all of that into the entire scope of the project. Once they're finally done with looking at all of that and how much they're going to be impacting the building itself in order to make this happen, they decided, well, let's look at how the building's actually functioning and being used. They added all those components together and they came up with their master plan for the Capitol building to basically address all of those types of issues. And finally, in 2016 is when they launched the first phase, or CAMS, which is the Capitol Accessibility, Maintenance, and Safety Project. Rolling all of the cams out in phases actually allowed the building to stay occupied and functional during each of those phases. The biggest shutdown, of course, was what happened to us in 2020, which had nothing to do with construction. I did not shut the entire building down, although people like to say we did, but we weren't the cause. As we move forward in those phases, now we're to what we're calling phase 3, which is the final phase, which I constantly tell people it's the final phase because I am going back into retirement. No matter if they come up to phase 4, I'm done. Anyway, this phase, we've structured it in such a way that we are going to be closing the 1938 building, which is what was the original Capitol before they made the addition in 1977. But because we've already done phase 1 and 2 and done the seismic upgrades and all the improvements for those areas, we will be able to allow the members, the legislative members, their staff, and some of the support entities for the Capitol to remain functional in the 2 wings of the building, as well as the hearing rooms and the 2 chambers. So business will continue as usual to the public, but for those of us who are actually housed in the 38 building, we will be housed elsewhere during the next 2 years. The improvements to the Capitol building safety are absolutely tremendous of what we're going to be able to accomplish in this. And there are 26 modifications that have been identified as having potential to affect historic features, which is of course what you're interested in. Of those 26, 9 of them were identified to have adverse effects, which is why we're going before SHPO and also talking to you folks. The CAMS project phases include a wide variety of proactive conservation and restoration measures to basically offer mitigation for those 9 adverse effects that we're going to be doing. I want to highlight a couple of those items that we're going to be doing. Of course, we have 20 identified restorative measures, and Ms. Fitzgerald talked about one of those items specifically, which is the documentation of the project with regards to the impacted areas, as well as other areas of the building that we're documenting. So since the beginning of this project, we've been taking both still photos as well as video of the work that's being done. So we have documented all of the areas that will be changed due to the work that's being done. And then we're going to also document the work as it's happening, as well as when we're completed. Those different images and video will be compiled and used in various ways. One is in the Welcome Center that we now have. There are screens there that you can go through and kind of see the history of the Capitol. This will be included in that eventually. When they do tours of the Capitol, they talk about how the Capitol has changed over time, and they will highlight, you know, when they come to certain areas, this is what it looked like pre what we're doing and how it's changed over time, and various things that small tweaks have been done over time. And then the last thing that we really want to hone in on is taking those images and creating some type of a book that can be shared with the public, so that people can, there's a lot of history of the Capitol that people can purchase. We want to now add to that history of how the building itself has changed from, let's say, from 2016 when this project started to 2025 when it will be completed. One of the most beloved features of the Capitol, at least as far as I'm concerned, are the revolving doors that are out front. A lot of people have had lots of fun going through those revolving doors. You don't see those very often. And they have those bronze clamshells, is what we call them, that close around the outside of them when the building is not being used. Also, what many people don't realize is on the east and the west side of the Capitol are a pocket bronze door that is closed at certain times in order to more secure the building, although, you know, we've got lots of windows, so I don't know how secure that is. But anyway, those doors are not functioning really well right now. So one of the things we want to take on as one of the restorative features is to restore those doors, repatina them, and clean them up and all of that type of thing. The doors themselves, you can't just go buy the hardware on the market. So we're going to be working very closely with a couple of our partners, which are SRG and ARG architectural firms, to help us find the appropriate folks to actually, in some cases, for the inner workings back behind where you don't actually see, help us get those fixed and repaired so that they can work and we can close them easily and open them, and it can still remain a great feature of the Capitol itself. Another area that people see very easily when they walk up to the building are the two stelae, or people refer to them as marble monuments. They're actually stelae out front of the Capitol. In addition to cleaning and repairing those, the existing sealant at the marble joints needs to be removed and replaced with a pointing mortar. That will match the more historic condition of those stelae when they were first put in place. I don't know if many folks know, but back in 2020, those joints were all raked clean and a bright white silicone was put in the place. The sealant was put in there. It doesn't really, it stands out really bad. So we're going to remove that and put in something that matches more what you had to begin with. On top of these restorative features that I've talked about, we'll also be cleaning and repairing, well, we've actually already done most of it, the exterior marble of the building. There's a lot of stain work on it. We're repinning it. So again, in case of a seismic event, people are running out of the building, the marble doesn't come loose and fall on top of them. So that's one item. And then we'll also be restoring many of the other bronze windows and doors throughout the building. I was amazed to find out there's dozens of them. So we're going to be working on all of that also as a restorative feature. A lot of the skylights we've already refurbished, and we'll be doing a few more of those with phase 3. And then the corridors is something that people don't really think about, but the corridors, the paint color has changed over time. We want to take it back to a more original paint color. And then the terrazzo flooring. Over time, people have found new products to use, and they now have a wax finish on all the terrazzo, which is not the original finish. It adds a sheen to it. We want to remove all of that and restore that back. While we have all of that off, we're going to do some buffing to get that terrazzo down, fix some of the cracks and whatnot, and bring that back. So your corridors are going to have more of the historic view or ambiance that you would have seen back when the building was built in 1938. So those are just some of the things that I wanted to highlight, that we are taking measures to try to bring the building back to what it was even pre us coming on board to this. The folks that are working on this project, the Capitol is a priceless entity to many of us. And this project is making every effort to enhance the safety of those who visit the building, while trying to keep the significance of this being a historic landmark in the forefront of everything we do. So I hope folks understand that we don't just have a bunch of folks running through here with hammers and chisels and trying to make changes, but they look at everything and they all realize that this is a special building also. So hopefully that'll help you in maybe, I hope, supporting this and sending forth a positive letter. If there are any questions, I would be happy to take them to talk about either the project in general or any of the restorative measures or anything else. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your participation tonight, Jody. Do commissioners have any questions for Ms. Jones this evening? I guess I've got one. I'm just kind of curious, like with the doors and the stelae, if they needed any kind of additional repair work after some of the issues with vandalism and different things over the past couple of years, or does the work that needs to be done on them, kind of fit what was expected before those things happened?
So those were all items that we had identified already that we wanted to add in as restorative measures for mitigation. However, what occurred in the last couple of years enhanced the need for that restoration. So for example, the stelae out front during the last couple of years received an unwanted paint job And we had some citizens who meant well, and they tried to clean it immediately using incorrect chemicals. So part of what we'll be doing is we still have not been able to remove that damage. We will be doing some more deep cleaning to try to remove that paint damage. And one of the things that we're to be doing, that we are also working with the city and HLC and SHPO and whatnot on, is applying a removable sealant that can be put on to help not necessarily repel, but then if someone were to paint it, we can go in immediately with the appropriate chemicals that will not cause damage, remove the paint and the sealant, and then reapply the sealant so that the entity or the material doesn't seep into the marble or granite or whatever they happen to be targeting at that moment. So does that answer what you were looking for?
Yeah, I was just kind of curious, since clearly that wouldn't be something you guys were expecting to have to deal with as you're planning this, pretty significant project, and then this kind of just happened, and I imagined it was, another thing that would have to kind of get figured out on how to deal with it. So yeah, that answers it. I appreciate the detailed response on that one. Thank you. All right. Can I have a motion from the commission if there's no more questions for folks?
I'd like to move that we provide a letter of support for this project and direct that to OLA and SHPO.
Thank you, Commissioner Holton. Is there a second motion? Is there a second? Excuse me.
I second the motion.
Okay, I think I heard Commissioner Ponce first on that one. Commissioner Holton, to your motion, did you want to add any comment?
Well, first of all, I really appreciate everybody being here this evening and discussing this really important project for not only the state, but for all of the states, as we all live with historic Capitol buildings. Pretty much everybody has a historic Capitol building in their state. And this one in particular, because of the potential for a major seismic event off our coast. I remember the Scotts Mill earthquake, and I had the opportunity to work on the restoration of the dome that rotated about 1/4 of an inch on that building. So the seismic upgrade of that, and just the study of that building, the history of the building, the history of Capitol buildings in the state of Oregon that were destroyed due to fires. Any effort we can make to keep this building in great condition, and also to deal with the difference of governing the needs for larger buildings, the needs for different kinds of services within the building, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and also the importance of dealing with the accessibility of the building. Those are extremely important today, and not that they weren't in the past, but we know the difficulties, and we need to address those. And I think that they've done a great job in addressing those. And again, I'd like to compliment Jody on her work in coming out of retirement to work on this project. She has so much history that to lose that, and to be enjoying the sun on the French Riviera, for her to come out of retirement, again, I want to compliment her for that. So again, that's why I support this action.
Thank you. Commissioner Ponce?
Second the motion as stated, and I just second the sincerity of the efforts there. Amazing. I love it. I love the building now, and I'm sure that it'll be just that much better for generations to come.
Thank you. Would any other commissioner like to comment? All right. And now a vote on the motion. All in favor of approval of the letter, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. And now our second item tonight, and Kimberly with the report about the Civic Center Historic District nomination.
Yes, thank you. This is the item that we have added to the agenda. And as Juliana mentioned, you're hopefully very familiar with this nomination. This is the Civic Center National Register nomination prepared by our own former chair, Tracy Schwartz. And the action that we are requesting you to take this evening is to consider writing a letter of support, which I've already drafted and sent to you for the nomination. Jennifer Timbrook, who's not able to be here this evening, has volunteered to attend the SACHP meeting, which is on June 24th, Friday next week, to read this letter and support the nomination. So this is the request. Zach has also emailed you this letter, so you can take a closer look at it. I'm going to stop sharing, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Kimberly. Does anybody have questions for Kimberly on this one? All right. Is there anybody here that is with the city that's going to want to speak on this matter?
We do not have anyone signed up for testimony on this.
Okay. All right. Can I have a motion?
I move that the commission send the letter as drafted in support of the National Register nomination for the Civic Center, and take that to the is it a hearing, to the hearing next week from Friday, to present our support.
Thank you, Commissioner Inman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Fuller. To your motion, Commissioner Inman.
Pardon?
Do you want to add anything, Commissioner Inman, to speak on your motion?
Well, I would just say that this is a very timely nomination, because it's going to coincide with the 50th anniversary of the 50th birthday party for the Civic Center in August. So it's going to be another way to show Oregon and the other states around us that this brutalist architecture, in a civic style brutalist architecture, is well and thriving in Salem.
Thank you, Commissioner Fuller. Do you want to add anything?
That the nomination will help to concrete the location as a point of interest in Salem too, as a not just this edifice of architectural creation, but also that it sits kind of across the Pringle Creek area, which was a place of occupation for a long time, and will help to point out who was doing what and when in this very particular confluence of a small hill and a creek and a little village that's now the civic center of our city.
Thank you. Would any other commissioner like to comment? All right, hearing none. And now a vote on the motion to draft a letter of support for the Civic Center Historic District nomination. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. And now we move on to discussion items for this evening. And the first one on our list is the Highland Heritage Neighborhood Update. And Kimberly?
Well, I'm going to turn it right away over to Austin Ross. I think this is Austin's first time addressing the Landmarks Commission. Austin is a long-range planner with the city. And I also want to introduce Leah. How do you say your name? I'm so bad. Sorry. Welcome. She's from the Highland Neighborhood Association.
Lee.
See?
Lee.
I wrecked it. Sorry.
Don't be hooked on phonics, Kimberly.
I know, right?
L-E-I-G-H.
Anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Austin now. I think he has a short presentation to share with you and some brief discussion.
I do. Thanks, Kimberly. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And hopefully you can all see that. So my name's Austin. Like Kimberly said, I'm a long-range planner, but I'm dipping my toes into the historic world for a project with the Highland Neighborhood Association. So this project is part of Salem's Heritage Neighborhood Program. So the Heritage Neighborhood Program was established by council, and it's awesome because it sort of fills a preservation gap. It's a big leap to try and work towards a district, and so this heritage neighborhood designation is sort of a lower bar to entry for neighborhoods that really want to explore their history and promote their neighborhood through its history. So there are 3 heritage neighborhoods in Salem, and Highland is the newest. And so this project is going to have a few components, and we want to build on the momentum that was generated by that designation, I think, just last year. And to help build some public interest through an architectural guide to increase our technical understanding of what resources are there and at what density through these reconnaissance level and intensive level surveys. And then to increase some awareness of the historical elements that are in the neighborhood with some interpretation. But that's going to be a little further down the road after we have sort of the foundation done with this guide and the surveys. So Grant and Cessna already have historic or architectural guides, and so we want to create one for Highland as well. It's a great way for people who maybe don't know a ton about architecture to learn about the historical elements that they're seeing in their neighborhood and kind of understand what gives the neighborhood its character and feel. So this is a really useful tool to help kind of draw people into historic preservation, especially in the place where they live. And then the 2 surveys, the RLS and the ILS, are more about figuring out what resources are there, at what density, and what quality they are, so we can understand if a district might be possible, or also just understand what there is to build on in this area. So it's really useful information to start taking some next steps, and for the neighborhood to understand what its assets are and decide how they really want to highlight them. And then The timeline for this project, we're going to try and work fairly quickly if we can. Obviously, we're kind of at the kickoff right now, but this summer and fall, we want to work on surveying, on doing some research, especially with those intensive level survey properties to dig into them and really understand them. And then work to put together that architectural guide. And then hopefully early next year, we can use that information and knowledge that we've gained to start working towards some interpretation. So where HLC comes in, this project is, the degree of success sort of depends on how many volunteers and how dedicated they are. And folks with your level of experience and knowledge are set up to be super volunteers. So understanding all of that, and it would be awesome to have somebody from HLC as a member on the committee for this project, so that you can support us and the neighborhood as we make decisions about how to approach some of this work and how we want to use it. But it's also good, it would be also be really fantastic if people have the energy to get out there and do some of the field work as well. We have the tools to train folks. They don't need any special equipment, but we have ways to collect information with our phones, and we're happy to get people trained up to get out in the field, check out in the Highland neighborhood, get some steps in, all of that good stuff. And then having a volunteer to help with research on some of those more intensive level survey properties that we want to look at and really dig into it and find that background information that we need to really understand those properties would be a huge asset as well. So any enthusiastic volunteers, feel free to reach out to Kimberly and she can put you in touch with me. And otherwise, that's what I wanted to share with everybody.
Kimberly, can I say something? Can you hear me?
Well, yeah. Yes, of course.
Okay. Or do you want to go first?
No, I want to say thank you to Austin and also after you've spoken, I'm going to turn it back over to Andy and ask a little more nicely than Austin did and press the commission to volunteer, express their interest in volunteering this evening. So be ready for that, you guys.
Okay.
So go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, so I just, in response to the Historic Landmark Commission project proposal for historic research in the Highland neighborhood, designated heritage area, I just want to say we're very, very grateful for the opportunity to participate and benefit from this. I was asked to express why it's important to our neighborhood, and I feel like it's a large ask to articulate why the significance of a neighborhood is important to its residents. I mean, it's this, I don't know, as the chair of the Heritage Committee, I'm looking to capture that intangible feeling of pride in an area and knowing its roots, and having documentation of its importance is something that can be shared with residents and the city at large. Some of the properties on our initial list for the RLS research sites include the Ma and Pa store on Highland Avenue. That's in the middle of a process of having its highest and best use as a residential restored to mixed use. So it could once again be a corner store and a hub for our community. Another is a home site for Herbert Hoover, which has a really interesting background, along with several buildings that were moved from the downtown core. Last, we're also, I threw this at Kimberly and Austin, like basically they don't know yet, but one of the things that we're really interested in is finding out the history of the rail lines in our neighborhood. So finding out the context of that, it's really much needed for our neighborhood because it's all negative at this point. So, and there's really no hope for it to be moved or go away. So if we have some sort of historical context, I think we can spin it and embrace it as part of our culture here. So many may know or have an impression of the Highland neighborhood and its challenges, and they're likely all accurate. So, but we're really trying to move things. forward, and the heritage designation, it has, caused a stir, a little buzz in our neighborhood, which is really amazing. And as the downtown core vitalizes, this vitalization moves outward, and Highland looks to establish itself as a distinct neighborhood. I want to say this kind of on the mushy side of things, a little bit more heartfelt, is that Highland neighborhood is not a melting pot. We're more of like a mosaic. Okay. So if I can restate that, we're not a melting pot, we're a mosaic. And we're slowly piecing together what this work of art will become. And having access to our roots and information on its foundation is really essential to this work and important to us. So thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you so much for your comments. Are there any commissioners that have any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Commissioner Kurtman, go for it.
For volunteering, what kind of time commitment are you looking at, or that you would like? Don't want to volunteer for thinking it's going to be one weekend and then find out it's 6 weekends. So, what's your expectation?
That's a good question. I think we would be excited to have people who are willing to commit to whatever amount of time they can. Obviously, the project is going to stretch over multiple months, but we also recognize that not everybody can, dive headlong into a project like this and pound the pavement for 40 hours, So if somebody's able to help out a couple Saturdays, a few Saturdays, that's fantastic. We expect once school starts back up to get some help, maybe from some students at Willamette University. So, it's one of those situations where many hands make light work, and we're trying to spread it across as many folks as we can.
And if I could jump in based on our experience from the other two neighborhoods, which Austin wasn't around for, we have, and Jennifer, who's not here, was on the HLC, I think, when we did the Cessna neighborhood, and she volunteered to go out and do some of that RLS work, with the app on the phone. And I think next time we get together, she can report back about the level of time commitment. But the way that it worked, as I recall, was that we divided the neighborhood up amongst the volunteers that were from the neighborhood association. We had one volunteer from the Landmarks Commission, but also a liaison, and that liaison came to meetings once a month. I think that's kind of what we're looking for this, and those will be virtual, so that wouldn't be hours and hours. But the RLS survey, as Austin mentioned, it depends on how many volunteers we get, and then we divided up the neighborhood, and then essentially how we did it previously was, instead of going out as a group, we did an initial training on how to use the app. It's basically an app on your phone. And then individuals were able to complete the survey as they had time. And we would do a check-in once a month. We had a goal of getting it completed in 3 months. So that combined with, I think, something new this time that Austin mentioned, which I'm kind of excited about, is having the support from Willamette students as well. And Zach can speak more to that. I don't remember. We've talked about this multiple times and I'm always forgetting what the dates, they have a date of service that they do. So anyway, I hope that answers your question, Jessica.
Any other questions from the commission? Thanks so much for, Commissioner Inman.
Yeah, late comer here. Yeah, Kimberly and all, I would like to volunteer, and however you need me. I'd rather not be doing the research, but I can do the field work or meetings, and I'm qualified under the Secretary of Interior standards under the Secretary of Interior's qualifications as an historical architect.
Yes. Would
So,
you be willing to serve as the liaison?
Sure, I would
Yay.
love to do that. And yeah, I think it'd be good experience to use your apps and your tools and
Yeah, great.
input data that way. But I'd rather not be doing the Sanborn maps and the title research and that stuff, which I assume you're going to be doing.
Yeah, we've got a consultant we're hiring to help with that, but I'm looking at Brett, but he can't tell that I'm staring at him to assist with research if you have the time. Additional, as Austin said, many hands make light work. So,
I mean, it would.
Hope everybody else comes along, let's
yeah.
all pitch in.
Oh, yeah,
Kimberly, who's-
I pledge to get, a lot of boots on the ground, as many as I can. I mean, maybe not a lot, but I've already had people express interest, and I sit on my porch all the time. And so I will give people the narrow look that aren't participating.
So I think, Austin, I'll look to you to perhaps send a follow-up email, and Zach can assist you with reaching out to the Landmarks Commission. I think where the rubber will hit the road is after the next committee meeting in establishing a training session, for lack of a better word. And then if you are going to want to volunteer, which I hope you all will at some level or another, you'll need to attend that training. Oh, Steve had his hand up.
Commissioner Ponce.
I just want to follow on Kimberly's point there. If you could identify the weekend or the day of training, it would help, set up a schedule for us.
We'll do that. We'll do that for you. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Austin. Thanks, Lee.
All right, the next item on our agenda tonight is the newsletter check-in, the photo contest subjects. Zach, I'm gonna guess you've got an update for us?
Kind of. So the newsletter theoretically will go out next week. However, it is a holiday week, so it might go out the week after. But I do need articles from those of you who said you would get me one. So Brett, I've got a library article I'm expecting from you, and Andy an article about the Northgate Lanes. And then Andy's going to be writing a letter, and I am writing an article with all the winners. We have already gotten all of our photos with all the winners, which is exciting. At least for the photo contests, the Historic Preservation Month ones should be happening soon. And that's where we are on the newsletter. The next one after this, if you want to start thinking about it, I should have opened this before I thought of it. But we do already have selected a theme for the next one. So I'm going to look that up while I'm talking. Sorry.
When would the next one come out?
So the next one will come out the week of September 20th. And our theme is underrepresented voices. So if you have anything about the history of any underrepresented voices, so communities of color, the LGBT community, anything that you want to do. I did recently learn that the Capitol Forum, which was a queer social group in the 70s and 80s, they rented an entire apartment building where they held community classes and rented out rooms and stuff. So that's an interesting bit of history. I don't know what building it was yet because they didn't want to put it in the newspaper just in case people came to hurt them. But I'm working on figuring out where it was. I just got the cell phone number of the president of the organization at the time. So anyway, so I might write an article on that, but any articles for any underrepresented voices and how those were impacted. I know we used to have a little Chinatown downtown, so that might be an area of interest. And then some things we know from the Oregon Black Pioneers some things near Salem that aren't necessarily in Salem, but there may be more history out there that I'm just not sure about. So yes, our fall theme is underrepresented voices. I would want your articles the week before September 20th, which would be like September 16th-ish would be when I would want articles written. So that's a good amount of time. That's 3 months from now. So if anyone is excited about anything right now, you can sign up. If not, let me know soon. And if there's any members of the public watching who would like to write something, we do accept submissions. You just have to sign a thing. So just reach out to me if you would like that.
Zach, I should write something for Archaeology Month, which is in October.
Okay.
So I don't know what would be written about it. It might just be, I don't know. So pencil me in for that and I'll see what I can come up with.
Okay.
Thanks, Zach. I'm gonna guess you're probably gonna be handling the next item on our discussion items as well, the Civic Center photo contest.
Yes, so I sent you an email about it, but essentially it's going to run the exact same way that we do our HLC photo contest. What'll happen is we'll collect all the photos. I will send them all to you in a survey. You'll vote for your favorite one in the survey, and then during the actual meeting, you will just vote between the top 2 photos in each category, and then we'll select our winners that way. The photo contest should open soon. I sent everything to our communications team. So as soon as they post it, it's open and it's ready to go, and it'll close on July 31st. And I will compile all the photos that week and probably send it to you the next week. So you'll vote for it during the August HLC meeting. And that's really it. If anyone has any questions, I can answer them, but it's going to be very similar to what we do for the HLC photo contest, just different categories. So the categories are interior, exterior, animal/wildlife, staff category so that staff can enter. Normally staff can't enter. And then Salem in the 70s. So that one is any historic photos of Salem from the 70s. And it doesn't need, the other ones are specifically of the Civic Center campus. And the Salem in the 70s is just anything that is representative of the era. So.
Great, thanks, Zach. Do you know, or can you do me a favor when the city, I guess, puts out the official stuff with their PR guys? Just like shoot me an email or something, and I'll throw it on our social media stuff. So hopefully we can kind of drum up a little bit more interest as soon as they announce that the contest is open.
Yep, I can do that. And then I'm also planning on emailing everyone who participated in our past photo contests. So
awesome, great, thanks, Zach.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're finally down to letter D, the work plan assignment updates and check-ins. Kimberly.
I think I just gave you guys another work plan assignment, which is the Heritage Neighborhood. And I don't know if anyone on the call, on the commission has anything new to share about the existing projects that you're working on. Anything new from last time? I promise I'm not going to give you anything more to do. I say that, but I promise. I think we have enough.
All right. Well, thank you, Kimberly, for keeping it short and sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's move to the Historic Preservation Officer report too, Kimberly.
Okay, this is going to be something I'm going to be doing now as part of our Historic Preservation Officer report, is because you guys aren't seeing a lot of cases. I just want to give you an update about what we're doing. So these are our current historic design review cases, and I've got the dates that we've issued them. What I've highlighted here are the ones that are type 3, which is the ones that you would see. So you can see there's a lot more type 1 and type 2s. These are administrative. And again, that's because of our code change, which is a good thing. We're getting folks who are wanting to do more restoration and in-kind replacement, not because they don't like you guys, but honestly, because it's faster and more straightforward to do the administrative review. But I did want to point out, and I'm going to try and do this every time, things that I think that would be interesting to you. And when Carol and Andy and Zach and I met before our meeting tonight, they suggested too that perhaps we asked the folks from the, I think it's the Mission group, the Mission Parks Conservancy group, I forget their exact name. They have an approval, which we just issued the decision today on a new woodland garden in Bush's Pasture Park, and it's a really cool concept. So it's already been through the review. So if that's something that you're interested in, I know David is going to come next month to speak about AC Gilbert. And so we aren't anticipating any hearings again next month in July. So if it's of interest to you, we can reach out to Michael Slater to ask him to come and share the details about their new concept. And that's all I have to share this evening.
If I can jump in just a minute and talk a little bit about AC Gilbert, the new project there. We had a conflict. We were hoping to schedule it this meeting, but unfortunately, the Gilbert House Children's Museum's board meeting is the exact time of the meeting here. So that's difficult to bring Alicia Bay, the executive director, who really should be a part of that. So we're trying to figure out a good time to do that in one of our board meetings, just to kind of give you a synopsis of what we're looking at there. So I'll keep you posted. Hopefully we can make this work before we start digging in the dirt and playing with the toys. So
yeah.
Anyway, I will keep you updated on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, David. Any thoughts on asking Michael to come, or would you like to put a pin in that one?
I'd be interested to hear more.
Okay, then we will reach out and see if he's able to come next month. And that's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Kimberly. Is there anything for the good of the order?
So I have something I mentioned this once before, maybe it was just to Kimberly, but I wasn't at last meeting. We had the Justice Building project, the renovation that's underway there on Court Street, Court and 12th. I had proposed to, I guess, canvass a group for interest to see if you folks would like to come and tour part of the construction.
The tour.
Have you guys and show you what we've done, some of the things we found. Just this week, I think Wednesday, they delivered some of the refurbished windows. So, they've taken them out, they've taken them to the shop, they've been working and rebuilding, and we're just receiving the first units to go back in. So, anytime in the next, we'll be doing that process for the next 2.5, 3 months. So, it's a pretty good window. How we do it, it'd probably be best if we did it, on lunch hour break or something like that. But just be thinking about it, and maybe we can make this happen. I think it'd be a great hour and a half of, seeing the sausage being made there. It is, we got the old windows, we've got decay on that, we've got the terracotta, we've got, all the grout joints that Jody was mentioning, we've got a smaller scale of all that going on. So bronze doors, we've got bronze doors.
That sounds great. Thanks, Commissioner Pons. And
Maybe just reach out to Zach and maybe we can pick some times and reach out to folks, see what their availability is, if that's okay, Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that up.
wow, I have to say this is one of our shorter meetings we've had in a while. So hopefully everybody can go out there and enjoy the nice scorching hot sunshine out there that we've seen this summer so far, this late spring. So and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Andy. Bye, everyone.